Good morning, everyone. This is Sarah Christ with Connect Our Elders, and this morning I have Ron Greenwald and Patty Gerke with me. They are the founders of the Senior Stay or Go program as part of their real estate practice. Why don't you two go ahead and share more about yourselves and your business?
Patty?
Okay, I'm Patty, and just to make a long story short, I started as a healthcare provider, ended up in the medical device industry for 20 years, and then ended up in real estate. Spent 12 years taking care of my parents. My dad had multiple strokes and heart attacks. My mom had vascular dementia. Lived through independent living, assisted living, board and care, memory care, VA aid in attendance, surviving spouse aid in attendance. And so kind of lived through all of it. Even got the governor of New Mexico involved to get my mom her surviving spouse benefits. So I have actually lived it.
You definitely have lived it, Patty. And it's safe to say that obviously you bring that level of passion to helping elders in the community because you understand the emotional and mental stress of it all. How about you, Ron? Tell us about you.
Wow. Well, as I say, I'm only 39. No, that's good. I was in the mortgage industry for many years and then it's changed over to sales of real estate the last 11 years and really focused in on seeing that there was a huge need for seniors who are facing very emotional decision-making process about what to do about their home, what's the best housing situation. And so having lived it, Patty and I have known each other for about 35 years now. And in 2014, we decided to partner up and really dedicate ourselves to supporting our seniors in their decision-making process as to their housing, and not just the senior, but the whole family dynamic. So we pride ourselves in maybe having close to 1,000 families over the course of the last 6-7 years of helping them make a good decision.
That's wonderful. And Ron, I think honestly, when I got into the elder care space, you were one of the first people that I met, and you've always been extremely supportive over the years. So I appreciate that.
You worked on those public service announcements long.
Yes, I forgot about that.
I just watched them again for the
I'll have to get my hands on those. So what Ron is talking about is several years ago, we worked together with a private fiduciary firm, and we worked on some public service announcements to fight against financial elder abuse, because that's a huge issue all over the nation. So before I have you guys speak to really what distinguishes you, for the audience members listening, I think that you can probably already tell that both Ron and Patty approach their real estate business with a servant's heart, with helping elders understand everything that's involved with the sale of their home, because it's an emotional experience for them. So they really need to be handheld through the process, and that's what they do. So why don't you two elaborate more on what really distinguishes you?
Well, I think one of the things that really distinguishes us is because we're realtors, everybody automatically thinks we want to sell the property. But we understand it's a journey, not a transaction. And we call it a journey, not a transaction, because we have clients that we have been on the journey with 4 and 5 years before anything gets sold. And we've had situations where we've been on the journey and then somebody swoops in and sells the property without anybody knowing it. So it's more about helping the elder, as you said, than it is anything else. So even if they're going to stay in their home, we have a home inspector that will do a preliminary inspection, not necessarily a full inspection, or we'll just go in and make sure carbon monoxide detectors are there and working, smoke detectors are there and working. Area rugs are not going to be a trip hazard, making sure light bulbs are all in place and working. Simple things like, once my parents moved while I wasn't there, and when I got there, my dad, who was walking with a walker, had to get up, turn completely around his chair and a table to get to the restroom. And by the time he got there, he'd have an accident, and he was very frustrated. And so I asked my brother, why can't the TV be on the wall to give him a straight shot to the bathroom? And he was like, well, that's not what the outlet is. I'm like, yeah, but there's extension cords. So, there's simple solutions, because you can't make big changes. Big changes are too disruptive, but simple changes that make life simpler help. Yes. And then they are accepting of them. So even though it's it is called the Senior Stay or Go program, and it sounds like an oxymoron for a realtor to want you to stay, but we want you to stay safely. We want you to have a good quality of life. We want to establish a relationship and trust with that senior and their family members. And the goal, obviously, is eventually when they do sell that property that they would trust and respect us to do it. But again, we understand it's a journey.
Right. And again, I cannot reiterate enough how Ron and Patty really take this, of course it's business, right? You're hoping to sell the home in the end, but you guys really do take that altruistic approach and bring in the necessary resources, right? You're not just having tunnel vision as I have to sell this home. You're really looking at the holistic picture and trying to figure out what resources you can bring into place to ensure that elder is safe, number one. Number two, has a quality of life, and you really become friends with them, which I've always really appreciated about you two. Ron, do you have more to add to this?
I would just add that, we are, having done this so many times, we know what we're looking for in terms of what's their motivation, what's really behind all this. And sometimes it's the family dynamics. And we're there to listen to them and really provide them resources. Again, as you know, you're one of our resources. So we know pretty much everybody, and we're in the county of San Diego. We service the whole county. So if somebody has a question, we think we know the best people to provide them with those resources to make good decisions. I mean, given what we're going through right now with the COVID situation, we're getting way too many calls of seniors making irrational, short-term thinking decisions, whether it's a reverse mortgage or, not that that's the most worst thing, but it may not be the best thing. Or thinking of, hey, you know what, I'm thinking this, and that's all about maybe too much news intake. And we need to slow them down and really put those best resources to work for them.
I feel like you guys, you operate much the way that I do, that Connect Our Elders does, which is, I want to be an educator and a navigator, right? And so that's sort of the approach that you guys are also taking in your business. Tell me about this special designation that you all have that separates you from other real estate agents.
Well, it's called the Senior Real Estate Specialist designation. And what it does is it's basically you take some classes and obviously an exam, but it differentiates us, and it says that we spend a lot of our energy and our time learning and understanding what market needs there are for a senior, and not just real estate needs, but like you said, advocacy needs, referral needs, being connected so that they can be connected. We understand, we have what's called the field of life, which is a baseball field, and the players on the field are pretty much, everybody a senior should or might need to have in their life at some point in time. But, you mentioned earlier, listening and understanding the whole journey. Part of that journey is a financial journey too. Ron mentioned reverse mortgage, but it's not just reverse mortgage. Is it the right time to sell? Is the senior making a rational decision to sell? Is the family making a good decision to sell? Are there capital gains tax implications that nobody's thought of that may not make this to be the right time to sell? So there's just a lot that goes into it. And I think there's a lot of players on the field that you need to have in your camp. It takes a village. It doesn't take one person. It definitely takes a village, no matter how old you are.
That is for sure.
I'll just add real quickly that both Patty and I have an MBA. So I'm very proud of that one as well. And again, so that helps us, again, look at the overall scope financially, not just from the real estate perspective, but is that person going to have, we're not financial advisors, we're not attorneys, we don't give legal advice, but we know who the right people are to get that information.
And then you guys collaborate. So it sounds to me, this field of life, which I think you two have showed to me. I'd like to actually get that so that way I can have it as a resource to hand to families when I'm doing my intake process. But you guys operate much like when you hear the estate planning attorney, right, doing the documents for people, they'll talk to the financial advisor, they'll talk to the client CPA. And so you two as real estate professionals, you're taking that same level of professionalism and creating basically this group of advisors on behalf of the elder. And that's really, really different. And I think it's definitely needed with somebody in that demographic, because you don't know, if you don't address this area, how it's going to impact this area over here, right? So everybody needs to be on the same page. And that's what you guys are doing.
And understanding what the family's ultimate goals are, because every family has different goals.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point, right? You have to know what their goals are. Have you guys noticed throughout the years that maybe what the initial goal was ends up changing over the course of, several years?
I mean, one thing, we can go in and help again, if somebody's lived in the home 50 or 60 years and they're not feeling quite up to par over the last 5 or 6 years, there's a lot of deferred maintenance in that home. And if we can go in and kind of help that in terms of the decluttering and cleanup and just making that home a happier place to enter and leave every day, you change in the way they look at life on a daily basis. So that's, we project manage this soup to nuts, A to Z, for somebody, whether they want to stay or if they are going to go and they want to sell their house, we'll project manage it for that person and the family. And that's part of that's one of our goals. That's our objective.
I think that that's another important topic to point out, is that this really has a benefit to the family as well, not just the elder, because, this silver tsunami, generation squeeze, all of these different terms that you hear, but oftentimes the adult children are bogged down in their own responsibilities aside from being the family caregiver. So what you guys are offering can really, basically they can outsource those responsibilities to you guys to handle it, which is a huge help. I remember you guys mentioning to me in a meeting one time about how Compass has a special program. Did you guys want to get into that on this interview, or should we do that another time?
We can. I mean, Compass has a program called Compass Concierge, which allows you to finance some of the improvements made to the home at no cost to the owner and no upcharge to the owner. It's just paid at the close of escrow. So what it does is it allows us to have 3 ways to sell property, basically. And that's why it really depends upon the families and the family members' ultimate goals. David, you got to get out of here. It's
live.
It's live. Sorry.
Everybody's used to this these days.
Sorry about that. What happens is,
husband, by the way, people. Yeah,
it allows us 3 avenues of which to sell property. So we can do the traditional sale where you have, people coming into your home. We can do the sale where, you may move out, or even when you're in, we'll do improvements to your home to try and maximize your dollars. Or we have, a plethora of like over 300 investor potentials who can come in and just take a look, purchase your home, not let anybody else in your home, and hopefully provide multiple offers and some, negotiations to make the best possible outsource for you, or ultimate end game for you.
I love that. I love that option, because, many of these elders have been in their homes for, at least 20 years, if not, going on 50 years. And so, it's obviously they're pretty outdated, and they're not going to get top dollar for their homes, right? And this is an important consideration. So if there's an option to ensure that they get top dollar, that's key, because the cost of care is pretty expensive, right? So the more they can get for their home, the more money they're going to have to be able to pay for their long-term care. So I think that that's an incredibly important factor that needs to be considered. What geographic areas do you guys provide your services in?
Well, we live in San Diego and we cover the whole county. Again, most of our referral base is other professionals, and they say, hey, I got a home in Chula Vista, Fallbrook, Oceanside, Jamul, Escondido. So luckily,
Ron was in San Bernardino this week.
Okay.
So luckily, gas prices stay low. Good thing.
Riverside County, Temecula. We've been to Temecula.
Yeah. We really try to, wherever you go, that's, we'll take it on and hopefully serve your needs and wants.
Okay. What is the major takeaway that you want viewers to take away? Well, that was redundant. What is the major thing that you want viewers to take away from this?
Well, for me, and then a lot for me, it's really that people understand, the families understand that they can really, they're the decision makers, whether it's the senior or as a family making the decision, as a group, that we are there to project manage it on their behalf. We will bring in the people, we will get the bids, we will get the estimates, we will look at it from every different angle, put it on a spreadsheet format and talk about it and pluses and minuses and what can happen, cause and effect, and let them make an intelligent decision and then implement that plan going forward. If they're going to stay, if they're going to go, where are they going to go, when is the right time to go. So it's a all-encompassing takeaway. It's not just about putting a sign in front of the house. It's much, much more in depth than that. And then the other thing, I want to just reiterate what Patty has said. I'm really concerned that too many people are thinking about, I just want to sell and get out. And here's, I got something in the mail from somebody, an investor flipper, where we have the ability to put that out to 300 or 400 different investors and really allow that price to be driven up.
Yeah, that, and I mean, especially with our elders, they are such a vulnerable population. And I really think that it's important that when it comes to taking care of them, that they need to be working with a vetted resource. And you guys obviously have a very, very impressive reputation throughout San Diego County. I know many advisors that I work with that also love to work with you guys. And so any adult children listening, any estate planning attorneys listening, CPAs, advisors, I highly recommend Patty and Ron. I've heard so many wonderful testimonies about their work, so I couldn't recommend them any higher. Do you guys have anything else that you'd like to add?
I think the one thing I would add is it's not just about the transaction. It's really about the journey and the compassion and the understanding that's needed to take the journey.
Mm-hmm. And you have the ability to do that, Patty, and you too, Ron. Obviously, you have aging parents. And I think that, it's super important because you can truly empathize with them. And that's what they need. They need that level of patience and that empathy, especially with such a life-changing decision.
Correct.
Did you have something to add, Ron?
No, I just couldn't have said it better. It's just a real passion for us.
It definitely is. How can people reach you?
Well, we have a website, www.greenwaldgerke.com. We have a YouTube page. We have a Facebook page, both Greenwald Gerke and Senior Stay or Go. And our phone numbers, mine is 760-525-7269. And Ron's is
760-390-0149. Text, whatever you like to do.
Okay. So for those listening, and I will be reposting this video, if you identify an opportunity, if perhaps it's your parents, or you have a neighbor, or if you have a friend who's talking to you about they have to figure out what they're going to do with mom and dad, feel free to reach out directly to Ron and Patty, or you can also reach out to me and I'll be sure that that the referral gets to them. Once again, I'm Sarah Christ with Connect Our Elders, and Connect Our Elders is all about connecting our elders to vetted resources in the community. Thank you for tuning in, and feel free to reach out to us with any needs that you may have. Thanks, Ron and Patty.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.